They were also coming out of the gym spa. They had Joey looking a mess today. Joey looked extra grandpa-y today in his attire. What is up, fellow Beyond the Gates fans? Here to talk about today's Tuesday episode. And a lot of you in the comments the last couple of weeks have been saying you're going to take a break from the show. And episodes like today don't exactly make good arguments against that, because it was a pretty boring episode overall. Plus, we're getting a lot of Vanessa this week, which, as any of you know that have been watching me, is going to make for a pretty tough week for me with that failed character. But this is a good time for me to promote the Patreon. If you're taking a break from Beyond the Gates, just listening to my reviews, want to see some good soap opera, I'm watching One Life to Live from 1989. I'm, of course, very biased. There's Old Days of Our Lives episodes you could watch along with me from 1983 and 1984. Lots of good stuff. Guiding Light from 1984 is probably the best one, but there's also like episodes missing, so that makes it kind of hard. But yeah, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/OCGTV. Only $3 a month if you're bored with Beyond the Gates. But let's talk about today's episode. I guess we'll start with Jacob, who met up with Grayson, you know where, in that damn alley. And Jacob today was cracking me up for all the wrong reasons. Jacob is truly terrible at his job, and they're still writing him as dumb. He's supposed to be this good cop going undercover to prove himself to his daddy, and all he does is do dumb things. He talks to Grayson today, hoping that Grayson hasn't told Ashley anything about seeing Jacob during the whole blood plasma thing. Grayson said he didn't tell Ashley everything, but he knows things are going to blow up now that he knows that Jacob is undercover. He doesn't want her to think that his feelings are a lie for her. So Grayson here admitting he does have feelings for Ashley. Not that I give a shit. But then Jacob's whole excuse is, I'm not undercover. And then he has all these excuses for Grayson about how he's in debt and he and Naomi were having big fights, and that's why he had to start doing this for extra money, which had Grayson admit that he is doing this too for extra money for his mother and his mother's Parkinson's, like I figured was the case. But Grayson just had dinner with Naomi and Ashley, and they were both praising Jacob. And here's Jacob's excuse that he and Naomi have been fighting, even though Grayson was just with Naomi when Naomi was gushing about the flowers Jacob gave her. And at first Grayson wasn't buying this shit, because who would buy this shit? It was a terrible excuse today from Jacob. It made me roll my eyes with how bad Jacob was doing today with his excuses for Grayson, because it really doesn't make sense for what Grayson just experienced with Naomi. But Jacob act like he was shocked that Naomi accepted his flowers and didn't just throw them away. And then Jacob had the audacity to say his street name is Rashad, which also cracked me up for some reason. And then he says that his father will take Jacob down because Elon's this hard-nosed cop, and if Jacob goes down, he's taking Grayson down with him. I mean, I guess Grayson has no choice but to buy this, but not really. Grayson could rat Jacob out and continue to earn his money with this impaler shit, but it doesn't seem like Grayson's going to do that. All in all, I thought that this undercover story with Jacob today was not very believable, because Jacob is dumb. And today, once again, proved that. Unfortunately, Smitty was doing laundry. Nobody does more laundry than the characters on this show, because they are going to promote for Procter and Gamble. But good for them, because that's how they're going to stay on the air. Nicole came over with cotillion stuff, and then Nicole told Smitty that Samantha told her that she was concerned about Smitty's story, that Smitty is keeping so secretive. Smitty's excuse about not talking about the story is that he could get scooped. When Nicole left, Smitty was nervously waiting for Jacob to text him or call him. He kept checking his phone over and over. Jacob eventually did call and told Smitty his plan is to turn Grayson and have someone on the inside so they can really find out who is running things. I will point out that after that scene and after that statement, it immediately cut to Joey, which I'll get to in a second. But I mean, Jacob's plan to have Grayson on the inside works, but getting there was a struggle today, and it was not very believable to me, unfortunately. Vanessa and Joey were on today. They're on a lot this week. We still haven't even gotten to Deanna, who will be premiering this week. They were also coming out of the gym spa. They had Joey looking a mess today. Joey looked extra grandpa-y today in his attire. I've been calling him Grandpa Gangster for a long time now, and today he looked extra Grandpa Gangster. Joey still doesn't want to meet with Vanessa's kids because he's worried that, Deanna's not ready because her father just died, although Deanna's never going to get over her father dying. So Vanessa put on her pouty bullshit that she tends to do. But it didn't work on Joey today, at least, although we know he's going to give in because he is going to meet Deandra at some point this week. Joey, meanwhile, is still protecting Vanessa about where his money laundering investments go. This is when they kind of alluded that he might be the impaler because Vanessa wants to help him with his latest venture. The problem with Joey being the impaler is that it's a very General Hospital-esque mistake where they take a villain and they involve that villain in everything. And I don't think this needs to be yet another Joey thing. You can have another villain on the show. You can have another mini villain if it's going to end up being the chief of staff. But it being Joey, it's too much. All the complaints for months about how Leslie is involved in too many storylines. It's actually Joey that's involved in too many storylines. So I will be displeased if Joey is the impaler. On one hand, I can get it. It just makes him the big bad on the show even further. And I think I will only accept it if the theory of Isaiah actually being a federal agent is true. And then he's the one that has to take down Joey because they have that good history together. I think if that's going to happen, the show needs to continue to build that up more between Joey and Isaiah. But I don't like the idea of Joey being the impaler overall. But we'll see what happens. Because soap operas don't need one villain involved in every damn storyline. You can have more than one villain and they could all be doing different things. We don't need a big bad. This isn't Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Pamela met with Vanessa, wanting to feature Vanessa in some Shine a Light On program that Vanessa had to turn down because of her association with Joey. Vanessa felt bad about that. Vanessa told Joey she had to turn down Pamela's offer. Joey tried to comfort her. Vanessa said she is focused on reclaiming Doug's reputation with this whole free clinic, but told Joey that she is not stuck in the past and that Joey is her future, and that's why she wants Joey to meet her kids. Blah, 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 blah. She cried again. But the Vanessa character sucks. I mean, it's what I'm going to say every time she's on. The only highlight that can come from Vanessa this week is when Deanna hopefully lights her ass up. Joey at one point today also interrupted Dani and Andre because Joey is keeping track of his bet with Dani that she won't stay married for a year, I think was the bet. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But he saw today that so far Andre and Dani are still happily married. Another thing that I will say about today's episode is that they have managed to officially turn Dani and Andre as boring as most of the other characters on this show. At one point, they were one of the highlights, but now they're not so much. They are kind of just as boring as most people, I fear, which happens to happy couples on soap operas. But under the surface, they really shouldn't be that happy. It's just that Andre likes to sweep their problems under the rug. Their whole storyline today was about Pamela and the modeling stuff and this photographer that Pamela's going to have taking photos for Dani that Dani is not excited about because I guess that photographer in the past used to bury the older models in the back. So Dani doesn't know how she's going to handle that. Nicole later met up with Dani and Andre, with Dani joking that Nicole has a reverse harem. And Nicole learned that some of her lovers, Carlton and Kyle, had that basketball game against each other the last week when they were battling it out. Dani did have a good joke at the end of the episode, though, that did make me laugh when Andre talked about how another guy jumped into the basketball game to make it 3-3, and Dani asked Andre if he got his phone number for Nicole. That did crack me up. But overall, I don't really know if those scenes accomplished much today. And the only other thing on today was Ted and Shanice. Ted's hamstring is still sore from that basketball game, and Shanice was making fun of him for playing that basketball game with his ex-wife's current lovers. Later, Shanice was working out his leg because, she has that physical therapy expertise. They did some flirting, got closer. Then Shanice made a house call to Ted in his hotel room later to once again check on his condition and once again work out his leg. But then Shanice got him dressed for a different workout. I mean, I liked them today. I am not against the Shanice and Ted pairing. I need to have small highlights with this show on episodes where there's characters like Vanessa, who I can't fucking stand, or when the episodes are totally boring. And right now, Shanice and Ted are kind of at least a mini highlight for me. They were entertaining enough in their flirtations today, and I like Shanice, so that helps. Shanice never thought she would be with a man like Ted because they apparently come from different backgrounds, with him being so rich. And Ted says he's looking at building this new life with Shanice so that he can give her all of the things that she deserves. So Shanice and Ted had an overall sweet episode today, but it was about as riveting as most of today's not so riveting episode was. So we'll see if the show gets more exciting as the week goes along. Today was kind of a rough one, though. I do not believe Jacob with this undercover shit anymore. It's just, he's not portraying it well, the actor, but also the writing is not helping because they continue to write him as too dumb to actually be undercover on this case.